The one lesson school never taught you, but should have. Have you ever wondered why some people succeed wildly in life, while others, even with the same education, remain stuck? Why do schools teach us about algebra, history dates, and chemical formulas, but rarely teach us how to face failure, how to handle money, or how to build resilience? This is the missing lesson. The one lesson school never taught you, but should have. There was once a boy named Daniel. He was the kind of student every teacher admired, always prepared, straight A's, and never causing trouble. His notebooks were spotless, his handwriting sharp, his grades flawless. To everyone, Daniel was destined for greatness. His parents proudly told their friends, "Our son will be a doctor, a lawyer, or maybe even a scientist." The school praised him as a shining example. But there was something Daniel couldn't admit to anyone. He was afraid. Afraid of making mistakes. Afraid of failing. Afraid of disappointing others. Because in school, he had learned one rule above all: mistakes equal punishment. Every red mark on his paper felt like a wound. Every wrong answer felt like a public shame. And so, Daniel became excellent at one thing: playing safe. Years later, Daniel graduated with honors. His family was proud, his teachers congratulated him, and everyone assumed success was guaranteed. But when he stepped into the real world, he quickly realized something shocking. Nobody cared about his straight A's. No one asked him to solve quadratic equations or to recite the dates of ancient wars. Instead, life demanded something entirely different. How do you manage your money? How do you deal with rejection? How do you sell an idea? How do you get back up after you fall? These were questions Daniel had never been prepared for. At his first job interview, he froze when asked, "Tell us about a time you failed, and what you learned," because the truth was, he had never allowed himself to fail. In school, he had mastered the art of perfection. But in life, success belongs to those who master the art of resilience. Daniel's first job seemed promising. He was hired at a large company, surrounded by brilliant minds. But soon, cracks began to show. One day, he was asked to present a new idea to a group of executives. His hands shook, his voice trembled, and when one executive questioned his idea, Daniel froze. For the first time, he didn't have the right answer. The meeting ended awkwardly. A week later, his boss called him in. "Daniel, you're smart, but you need to take initiative. You need to take risks." Risks. That was the word Daniel had always avoided. In school, risk was punished with failure. But in life, risk was the doorway to growth. A few months later, Daniel made a mistake that cost the company money. It wasn't huge, but to him, it was devastating. For the first time in his life, he wasn't praised, he was criticized. And in that moment, Daniel wanted to quit. Because he had never been taught the most important lesson: failure is not the opposite of success, failure is the path to success. One evening, Daniel sat in a quiet cafe, staring at his coffee. He felt like a fraud, like his whole life of straight A's meant nothing. Then an old man, sitting nearby, noticed his heavy expression. "Rough day?" the man asked. Daniel sighed. "I've failed, and I don't know how to handle it." The old man smiled. "Do you know what the most important subject in school should be?" Daniel shook his head. "It's not math, not science, not history. It's how to fail, and still move forward. Life will test you again and again, and every failure carries a hidden lesson, if you're brave enough to look for it." Daniel frowned. "But in school, failure was the worst thing you could do." "That's because school trains you to answer questions, but life trains you to ask them. To experiment, to stumble, to learn. And the faster you fail, the faster you grow." The man leaned closer, his voice calm but firm. "Success is built on a pile of failures, not on a row of perfect grades." That conversation lit a fire inside Daniel. For the first time, he saw failure not as an enemy, but as a teacher. The next week at work, when he was given a difficult project, he didn't play safe. He tried bold ideas, some worked, some didn't. But every mistake taught him something new. Slowly, his colleagues noticed a change. He wasn't the nervous, perfection-driven boy anymore. He was willing to take risks, to learn, to adapt. And then came the breakthrough. One of his daring ideas succeeded, and it saved the company time and money. His boss praised him. "This is the Daniel we need. Not the perfect one, the growing one." It was then Daniel realized, the most important lesson school never taught him was how to fail forward. From that moment on, Daniel began to notice something. The people who thrived in life were not always the smartest in class. They weren't always the ones with the best grades or the neatest notebooks. They were the ones who dared to fail. The ones who tried new things, even when they weren't certain. The ones who learned from rejection, who used obstacles as stepping stones. Daniel thought back to his years in school. He had been trained to memorize, to repeat, to perfect. But nobody had trained him to adapt, to persist, to rise after falling. And that was the real curriculum of life. So what is the one lesson school never taught you but should have? It is this: your value is not defined by grades, approval, or perfection. Your value is defined by your ability to learn, grow, and keep moving forward despite failure. Life will test you with disappointments, with setbacks, with moments where you feel like giving up. But remember, failure is feedback. Mistakes are messages. Rejection is redirection. Each of these moments is life's way of teaching you what school never did. Think about it. How many dreams die, not because they are impossible, but because someone was too afraid to fail? How many talents remain hidden because people were taught to play safe instead of to take risks? Maybe you, right now, are standing at a crossroads. Afraid of starting something new, afraid of failing, afraid of being judged. But here's the truth: if you wait until you're ready, you'll wait forever. The greatest entrepreneurs, leaders, and creators all share one thing in common: they failed. Repeatedly. But they didn't stop. Because the lesson that unlocks everything is simple: fail early. Fail often. Fail forward. So the next time you face failure, don't run from it. Look it in the eye and say, "You are my teacher," because the one lesson school never taught you, but should have, is this: failure is not the end. It's the beginning. Think about it: every great inventor, every leader, every dreamer who ever changed the world walked through the doors of failure first. They stumbled, they fell, and at times, they even doubted themselves. But instead of letting failure break them, they let it build them. That's the real secret. Every setback is not a punishment, it's preparation. Every rejection is not the final word, it's redirection. And every failure is simply life saying, "Not yet. Keep going. You're not done." And if you can hold on to that truth, if you can stand back up when the world expects you to stay down, then you will discover a strength inside you that no classroom, no textbook, and no exam could ever give. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because here at LAMRE, we learn, aspire, master, reflect, and evolve together. This isn't just a channel, it's a movement. It's a place for those who are hungry for growth, who want more out of life, and who are ready to turn their scars into stories and their failures into fuel. And I want you to remember something important: you are not alone on this journey. We are walking this path together, step by step, lesson by lesson, failure by failure, toward the best versions of ourselves. So until next time, keep failing forward, keep rising higher, and keep chasing the person you're meant to become. Because one day, you'll look back and realize that every failure was never a wall. It was a doorway, and it led you here.